All right, folks, so what do I think of the game Madeira? Well, let's talk a little bit first about some criticisms of the game, maybe why people don't like to play this game. And it is a little bit polarized, you know? I mean, there are people that really absolutely love this game. And then there's people who really absolutely hate it, you know? And I've talked to people, you know, when I'm kind of filming this video, talk to people about this game, doing my field research. And I don't know, it's like, it often comes up that I think part of why someone might dislike this game, this isn't the whole story, but part of why someone might not like this game, sometimes I think has to do with the players that you're playing it with, actually, with the group, right? I mean, there's different types of game players, of board game players, right? You have, you know, I think this game is best when you're playing with gamers who, you know, you're kind of like friendly together and you're playing the game to get together and, you know, have a good time. You know, you definitely want to win, you know, you're really trying to win, but it's not the you know, the end all. You're not going to get pissed if you don't win, and you're not really just trying to crush the other players. I think there's these players out there, and I'm not saying this is the only reason you would dislike this game. Believe me, I'll go into other criticisms too, but I think a lot of times people play in groups where, you know, people are out to basically show their dominance in board gaming and really crush the other player. And this is a kind of a game where there's a lot going on, man. It is a heavy Euro. I'm not going to say it's not. And it's complex, you know? So if you are playing with people and it's kind of your first time playing this game, maybe you've played other heavy games before, and you are playing this game for the first time and they're not letting you, maybe they're getting a little frustrated that you're taking too long on your turn, right? Or maybe they're just trying to crush you, you know? I mean, that's akin to, you know, if you're teaching someone how to play chess and, you know, say it's their first time playing against you and you already know how to play chess, are you really just going to try and destroy them, you know? Or are you going to like try and be like, hurry up, you know, when they're trying to take their turn, you know, without explaining anything? I hope not, probably not. You know, I mean, I don't want to play with somebody like that. The other thing is, if this game is not explained very well, people are very frustrated by this game because it just doesn't click. I kind of hear that over and over again. They say, well, I respect the game, you know, I might respect the design of that game, but it just didn't click for me. You know, I just didn't understand it. It took too many turns for me to be able to know what was going on. And I think, like I said in the beginning, if you don't teach people a little bit about the thematics of Madeira and actually what's happening here, like I said, it becomes this flood of, you know, pieces and numbers, and there's just no way that people can hold that all in their brain. You know, when you're explaining this game to someone, I feel like it's important to talk a little bit about what the actual thematics are, what's going on here. You don't have to go into this long history lesson of Madeira, although that would be cool. But, you know, just to talk a little bit about the thematics of it helps it anchor into people. And then also let them take their time moving. This is a very complex game where you're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on and help them out, you know? Okay. So what are some of the criticisms of this game? People say this game is, you know, way too complex. It's just complex for complexity's sake, and there's too many layers and there's too much going on. And that could be a legitimate concern for someone. I mean, although you should know when you go in to play a game of Madeira, when you buy it, it's a heavy game. You know, it's a very heavy, complex game. There's a lot of mechanisms. There's a lot of things going on. I don't think it's overly so. I think, like I said, it has a little bit of a stigma and a little bit of a reputation of having this massive amount of things going on. I mean, I've played more complex games than this, and games that are kind of, I think, harder to wrap your head around the rules, too. These rules are actually, in my opinion, some people don't like the rules of this game, but I don't really get that. I think they're laid out very, very well, and there's not a lot of ambiguities. You know, the weight of this game is a 4.26 on BoardGameGeek.com. They rate many different, but by the way, it's an excellent website if you've never seen it. If you're looking at this video, you probably know BoardGameGeek.com. But 4.26 is a heavy game. You know when you're going in, that's going to be a heavy game. Not overly complex or overly heavy, right? But talking about the rules, if you compare that to a game like Mage Knight, right? I think Mage Knight is a 4.21 in complexity, maybe at the time of this. Maybe it's a little bit different. Around there, though. To me, learning Mage Knight, and I love Mage Knight, by the way. It's one of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite solo games, definitely. And 2-player, maybe even 3-player, excellent. And I'll do a video of Mage Knight, definitely. But that game, because of the way the rules are set up, they're in two different books, and I'll talk about it in that video. I mean, it was very difficult to. It's the kind of game where like you're playing the game and you're looking up rules all the time. There's all these rules that you're like, oh, am I supposed to do this here or that? You know, can I go down into there? Can I use my my allies in there or not? Whatever. But compared to this game is so much easier for me, at least for my brain, the way my brain is set up, because the rules are just delineated very, very nicely and very well organized. It's very extremely easy to look something up if you have a question. I don't know, it is definitely complex, I'll say that. Maybe there is definitely, I guess, validity to that criticism, although I don't think that's a criticism. I actually love that about the game. That's like a good thing to me, that it's complex, because that complexity to me adds to the longevity of the game. The complexity means that there's so much going on and so much to explore, which is kind of cool. This game is in the age of exploration. There's a lot to explore in this game, man. I mean, there's so many varying strategies that you can do. You can have a city heavy strategy. You can have, a strategy where you have lots of boats. You can, go into, do a whole lot. I mean, you've seen this in this game. You can do a whole lot of harvesting all the time. I mean, you can have a pirate heavy strategy. I think there's actually a strategy where they call that like a formal strategy people have come up with, where you don't care about pirates at all, and in your mind you're going to get that minus 16 at the end. You keep doing it. You can win like that. You can win without getting any pirates, obviously, but this game has so many the amount of different layers that it has that all work together perfectly. It's like symphonically. This game is honestly like a symphony of game mechanics, and you can say, that's my opinion. Okay, these are my opinions. One person looks at that and says, it's a mechanic salad, and there's just all these mechanics thrown in, bundled up, and thrown out as a game. Whereas me, I see this as an absolute masterpiece. I mean, it all works together, and there is a reason for every single thing in this game. I mean, this game, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say it must have taken years to develop this game, to play test this game, to get it all balanced and perfect. I don't know that. That Nuno, Bizarro, I'm probably saying that wrong, and Paolo, I don't know that they did spend years on this, but that is my guess. Okay, that is my educated guess that there's just no way a game that is designed this well could have just been, tossed out that quickly. I mean, this is years of work, folks. And I mean, if you so this is that criticism. Maybe that is a legitimate criticism for someone who's into, games that aren't as complex. If you like complex games that you will grow with and that you'll learn more about as you play, and you can explore the different strategies and what's going on, if you like games like that, you will absolutely love this game. So another criticism of this game is that the punishments are too harsh, right? And that's an interesting one for me, because I generally don't really appreciate too much poor design when the whole design of the game is based on this punishment mechanic, right? Like there's games where you have to, do this thing and meet this particular requirement, and if you don't, you're like out, and that's it. And the punishments are so harsh that you're so terrified of getting it, and you're so stressed out. I don't like games like that. I don't feel like this game is like that. You have to feed your people, and you have to pay for your boats, right? You have to pay wood for your boats. But if you don't, the punishment is that you get pirates. And maybe this game has a little bit something of a incorrect assumption that if you get pirates, you're out. Like, oh my God, I got pirates. I'm going to be out of the game now. No, there's ways of getting rid of your pirates. I think a harsher punishment in this game is actually if you don't have any people in a region and you want to do that building action, it might come to that building and you're like, I don't have anybody there. I can't do that. Then you're like losing kind of an entire, event that you could have done. But again, if you tell people from the beginning, put people there in that region if you want to do the building action, it's not going to be a problem. The other thing is, maybe a lot of people are used to being really awesome at games like the first time they play them. They think like, when they play Madeira, they're like, it was terrible because, I didn't get the high score like everybody else did, and I got these pirates and I couldn't. It's like, well, so what? It doesn't, you don't have to be completely awesome. Maybe this is a game where you're not that great at it, and you at first, when you first played against the other people that knew what they were doing, maybe you didn't get as good a score, and, you'll think about it, oh, maybe if I do this and that, I'm not going to say that some people won't like this game, because some people definitely won't because of that, because there is a mechanic, an upkeep mechanic, I would call it, where you do have to, feed your people, pay for your boats, whatever. And some people won't like that, and that's fine too. But to me, the upkeep mechanic here is kind of not a bad one, because, again, you're just getting the pirates, and then there's cool strategies that you can do to get rid of them. Another criticism of the game is that there are some strategies that are way stronger, that if you get a combination of the crown's requests, and then you're doing this certain thing, because of the actual randomness of the game, of the die rolls and stuff, that becomes very strong. I'm just going to say nope to that. Sorry, I don't believe that. Any one particular strategy is going to win you this game all the time, that any one is intrinsically better than another. I've seen this game won in many varying different ways. Excuse me, sorry. Those are like the shifting sands of groupthink. I've seen that in other games before, where they say, oh, well, in this game, this faction is actually the strongest, and then when somebody starts winning a lot with another faction, they'll say, oh, no, this is the faction that's actually the strongest, or they say, well, this strategy will always win this game. There are times when games, if that is the case, then the game is broken, right? And we say a game is broken when one strategy is just better than other ones, and that means that game, the design of that game isn't that great, to be frank. It's a broken game because you always want to do that one strategy. There's been games published like that where people have figured out a winning strategy, and that's a real bummer to the designer, because I didn't play test that particular strategy, I guess. That is not the case here. Okay, there might be in your group, somebody does this one strategy and is winning a lot. Well, just keep playing, and you'll see there's no like one, just one strategy that's going to work the best. One more criticism, real quick, is that I've heard is that there's too much randomness in the game, right? That you can't do long-term planning because, it has dice that you roll, and the way that, the tiles come out maybe, and the way that the dice are rolled in connection with those tiles, too much, it's too random. So in games like this, I don't like a whole lot of randomness. There's some Euro games that I think have too much random element for them, especially for a game that takes a long time to play like this one. I sound like a fanboy or something like that, but I think this game has the exact amount of randomness that's really awesome. You have to be nimble in this game. So that criticism I say has definitely some validity. There is some randomness to this game, and if you want your Euros to have like no randomness or very, 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 very little, then this probably wouldn't be a game that you would enjoy very much. But I'll tell you that I don't like randomness in my Euro games, and this has the perfect amount. And what it does, the randomness in this game, again, this is a design gem. This game, the way it's designed is just amazing. It makes people have to be nimble, right? You can't just pick one strategy really and that's it and stick with it. I guess it's possible, I guess you could, but more likely you will have to amend your strategy here and there or change it a little bit based on where the characters are, right? Because it is random where these, I don't know if this is going to, anyway, you saw the characters. I don't know. That's random where they go. So if you were thinking, oh, I'm going to have 3 people in this region and I'm going to go to this character, well, that character might not be there next turn, So you do have to, you have to be agile when you play this game, and you have to look at the board and you have to keep re-examining the board and figuring out, where you want to go and what you want to do. So I guess it's a legitimate criticism if, you don't want any randomness, but to me, that randomness keeps it awesome and really exciting and, and just really, really fun. Okay, so obviously, I love this game, Madeira is right now my number 1 game. If you on Board Game Geek, you get to rate your games. This is my number 1 game right now. I absolutely love this game. Not just because I love playing it so much, but I wonder at the design of this game. Seriously, it's just amazing that something like this can exist in the world. That, it's so deep and so complex, and there's so many interlocking different various mechanisms in this game that, it's amazing that there's enough people out in the world. To me, this sounds kind of silly, but it's amazing, and I feel so fortunate that there's enough people in the world that love playing games like this. It's a very esoteric hobby. I mean, but there's enough people playing these kind of games and that enjoy them enough that designers have the freedom to make a game like this. I mean, even just that a designer can make something like this and find a publisher like What's Your Game, who is this publisher right here. I like a lot of their games. Find a publisher that's willing to publish it and people that are willing to buy it. I mean, it's just so great. I feel very lucky for that to be the case in the world of gaming right now. I feel glad that I can buy something like this, and have hours and hours and hours of enjoyment about it. So I love the bits in this game. I love the artwork. The artwork is just absolutely awesome. I'll show you some. I love the iconography. I think is fantastic. I don't know. To be honest, I don't have many criticisms of this game at all. It's really just kind of one of those games, like, it's really just up my alley. It's kind of like in my wheelhouse and something that if somebody else played this game with another group, they'd probably say, oh, Finbar would love this. Wow, I got to show this to Finbar, because it's just so well balanced. It's like a divine machine to me, the way all things are working together and perfectly. And then there's the interaction between the players, and you're trying to watch them that they don't steal your spots. And I mean, just everything works together so great. It's so much fun. It's deep, and it's just a really, really fantastic, solid game, in my opinion. Yeah, if I had to maybe say one criticism, it would probably just be, and this is kind of mundane, but this situation right here with getting wood, I think might be a little bit difficult to remember and maybe doesn't exactly fit in with the rest of the cities here. By the way, these cities are thematic, why you get wood here and the other stuff from these other cities. Like, this is the capital city, for instance, so that's why you get money there. They're not named here, but they're named in the rule book what these cities are. And here, this was covered with wood, so that's woods. It was very like wooded area of Madeira, so that's why forested. That's why you get wood here, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, my criticism would be here. See, when you go here, when you take a city or mayor action here, you get bread, right? So if I was the blue player here, let's say, or say I was the yellow player, I would get 1, 2, 3 bread, right? So then I just go and I grab my bread, and then I bring that and I have my bread, right? Here, you get money, okay? So let's say if I was the red player here, I would get $1, $2, $3. So this is $5, but I would take my money and bring it home, just like that. Here, as you can see, there's wood here. If I was the red player, say I would get 1, 2, 3 pieces of wood, right? So that would lead you to believe that just like in these other cities, I should take 3 pieces of wood, right? But that's not actually the case, because to get this wood, you need to have access to it. And there's nothing really saying that there, right? So you'd have to have access, you'd have to be in the forest field, or maybe, be in a field where you can harvest the wood, but you don't have to do that for any of these. So it's very hard to remember the fact that you have to have access to this wood. I would just change this icon right here completely. I wouldn't even have that as wood icons, because the wood icons means to people, if you go there, you get the wood. And that's why it's hard to remember, right? It's not really anchored in your brain what you're doing there. So I would just, instead of wood icons here, I would have like, I don't know, like axes or something like that, right? So you get, 5 axes here, and then only if you have access, not axes, but access to the wood, right? The axes kind of symbolize that you're cutting down the trees to get to it. So you have the ability here. Here you're actually getting the ability to get wood. You're not really getting wood here. This is actually telling you if you have access to it, you'll get it, right? So it would be better if these were axes, this icon right here, because it would tell you, okay, I have 1, 2, 3 axes. So let's see how much wood I can get now with my axes, right? And I'd say, oh, well, I'm here. Let's say if there was a blue guy here and I'm the blue player, I'm like, oh, 1, 2, 3, cool. I have, 3 axes, so I'll be able to get 3 pieces of wood. Or here, if I was the yellow player, I would say, oh, I have, I got 1, 2, 3 axes here, so I can actually get this 3 wood. It would make it so much easier to remember, and it would completely wipe out, one of the criticisms people have that, that the icons, maybe don't always make sense.